And John Stankey, Jason Kilar, thank you both so much for talking to us today after this big news. Jason, I want to start off with you. Congratulations on this new role, but you are taking the helm of WarnerMedia at an unprecedented time of an unprecedented health and economic crisis because of coronavirus. Are you still planning to launch HBO Max in May? And are you concerned that consumers won't have the resources to pay for yet another streaming service?
Well, thanks for the congratulations, Julie, first and foremost. And the plan absolutely is to launch HBO Max as is planned. And to your last question about the interest in it, I've been a big believer all my life that people all over the world care deeply about well-told stories. It's just always been the case. I saw it at Hulu, I saw it at Amazon, and certainly throughout my whole life. And I just believe that that's going to be the case going forward. Now, it holds the bar very high for us as a team to be able to deliver a great service. But gosh, when you get to know the people live inside WarnerMedia, I have every confidence that that will happen.
Now, Jason, coronavirus is impacting so many different parts of WarnerMedia's business. But when you look at the studio in particular, Warner Brothers TV and film production has really been entirely shut down. How long do you think it'll be shut down for? And how much do you think that coronavirus will impact both your film slate and your ability to produce TV shows for the fall season?
Well, there's no doubt, Julia, that what's happening is unprecedented. I don't think there's ever been a period in history where you've seen an entire industry basically shut down production across television and film. I strongly believe, obviously, those productions are going to get back up and running, not just for WarnerMedia, but across the whole industry. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest of people around the world that are going to need a respite from these challenging times. And so I don't see this as in any way a longer term thing. I definitely think that it's unprecedented, but I do believe that what we're going to see is people are going to get back to work and productions are going to get back and going. Now, when that happens, to your other question, I'm certainly not the subject matter expert, so I'd have to defer to others. I'm following, the data sources and Dr. Fauci and the rest of the crew. So, but I'm certainly not the subject matter expert to be able to opine on that.
Thanks, Jason. Now, John, I want to bring you in here. As you look at these different parts of your business, many of which have been shut down, do you expect to have to do layoffs either at WarnerMedia or at the parent AT&T?
Well, I don't know that anybody has a good handle on exactly what's going to happen in the economy over the next couple of months. I expect we're going to be in for some more difficult sledding, and we're a large business, and we have operations in a lot of different product segments, and we're going to have to respond to the markets and what happens. And if we see volumes dropping off or interest levels dropping off in particular product sets, are we going to have to adjust our resources around them? It's possible. I think everybody in this economy right now is looking at those issues. But the good news is we have some very strong businesses that are indispensable in what people do in their lives every day. And those are important. They're important moving forward. We're seeing how important they are right now, and we'll continue to make sure we have the focus on growing those businesses and carrying them forward.
Now, John, AT&T has about $150 billion in debt. I know you've already taken steps to reduce your debt, but are you concerned that a debt crisis around the impact of coronavirus will be problematic for your business?
No, we're comfortable, Julia. I can tell you even before we did the Time Warner transaction, one of the things that the board was really diligent about was looking at what we referred to as a black swan event in our planning, which is what would happen if we got into another repeat of 2008 or worse, and if the debt markets were seized up and locked up for any period of time, or we saw a dramatic downturn in the economy, were we comfortable that we had all the resources around us to be able to manage liquidity and carry the business forward and do what we typically do in downturns, which is find those strategic areas to invest and come out stronger. And we were very confident prior to the transaction that we could keep ourselves in that position. And I will tell you, as we've gone through the last several weeks, all those things that we planned for and thought about, we've had great responses to and feel very capable of working our way through this.
Mr. Kilar, it's Kelly here back at CNBC headquarters. I just want to ask, our Alex Sherman has a story today about how media networks have paid billions of dollars for sports that they won't receive this year, saying for now, everyone's just trying to figure out what to do, but that this could turn into a pretty nasty fight and have consumers decide to cut the cord for the time being. What are the plans to try to make up, to try to recoup some of that money spent, if there are any plans like that? And what's kind of the bigger way you think of maintaining live sports as a destination viewing opportunity for the months ahead, now that they're talking about maybe delaying the NFL season?
It's a great question on both accounts. On the first one, I'm going to defer to John because I'm obviously not in the building yet, but will be May 1st. On the second one, I've certainly read, as a bunch of other sports fans have, about sort of novel ideas about getting sports going in certain ways that are safe and responsible, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Nobody knows the answer to the macro question, which is at what point do things start to get back to normal on the other side of this curve. But I do believe that when that date happens, we're going to see sports, we're going to see movies, we're going to see television, and a whole host of things that, as John said earlier, are an indispensable part of people's lives. So, but what I can't answer is what date that will be.
John, you want to add any context to that for what's going to happen for the time being?
Sure. I would first offer that it's unfortunate that folks can't get themselves exposed to what they love most right now, which is competition in sports. But I'm sure once we can get back to it safely, audiences will re-engage and be there to enjoy what they enjoyed doing before Corona, and will like to do after it. And the good news is, I think, in our relationships with the different leagues that we're participating with, we have very strong relationships, and I think we have really good business constructs around what we do. And I feel very comfortable that while there's no question there's going to be some in-quarter impacts, and we're going to see some disruption in the near term as we work our way through this, I think we're all going to come through this in a place where it's a win-win construct for the league and us. We all want the same thing. We want people to be back on the field doing their thing. We want them competing. We want ratings to be strong, and I think we're going to find the right approaches to make sure that occurs.
Now, John, when you look at what this company looks like when we do come out of this, I guess the question is, if you look at AT&T more broadly, how different does AT&T and WarnerMedia within it need to look? Do you think business models will be fundamentally changed by some of the things that are happening now during this coronavirus shutdown, such as your movies going direct to consumer without that traditional 3-month window? And how does AT&T's other parts of its business, whether it's the mobility or offering TV and broadband, play into this as well? How different will AT&T look at the end of this?
Well, first of all, at the core of our company, as I mentioned earlier, I think we're in great shape. Certainly connectivity has gotten no less important going through this dynamic, and if anything, the networked world and the versatility of it has demonstrated just how strong and powerful an engine it can be to maintaining some degree of normalcy. And it's nice to be in the heart of that as a core part of our business. As Jason said, I think the other thing is, we're clearly seeing that people are resonating with an opportunity to spend their time looking for great stories and emotional attachment and distraction, during some very difficult circumstances. And we're in the core of that on our creative and content side. And with HBO Max getting ready to come out to market, I can think of no better place for us to be than have an opportunity to bring some new library and fresh content out to the end user. But we are going to see, not just AT&T, every company is going to see consumer behavior changes coming out of this event. And I don't expect that we're going to return to, quote, normal. We're going to return to a different economic environment. We're going to return to different business models. And so, yes, I would expect we're going to have to do things to adjust some of our business models to meet the customer where they want to be. And is there going to be as much retail space back in service and attached to retail spaces, theater screens? Chances are probably not. And does that mean that we're going to be looking to tell stories and maybe deliver them in different ways to complement what we already do so well on the big screen and cinema? I would expect that to be the case, especially if that's what the consumer expresses as their preference and desires. So the good news is the core of the business is very stable and very strong. We have some tweaks we can make around the edges with other parts of our business that I think play in to some of the very strengths we have, which is connectivity with customers.